Hi, welcome to Children's Time. Did I trick you? Do you know who I am? I wanted to see if you recognized me as a person even though I'm in disguise. Yes, I know it's not Halloween anymore, but this goes with our story today. And our story today is about a prince who decides to go into disguise so that he can go into the world and see what's really going on outside of his castle walls. So let's listen, and then I'll see you after the story. Thanks for joining me. A Prince in Disguise, Gospel Telling Stories by Richard Coleman. Once, a long ago, but not too long ago, in a faraway place, but not too far away, there lived a very special prince. He was, by any standard, very kind, very just, and very wise. Even though his kingdom had no boundaries, for it was large beyond imagination, everyone in it knew the king was a loving father. Once a week he would step into his royal carriage, and his royal coachman and royal horses would carry him through the streets. And of course all the young men and boys would bow, and all the young ladies would curtsy as the king passed by. Although this king was very, very rich, there was one thing he did not have. And because he did not have it, boy, he wanted it more than anything else in the world. Can you guess what it was? That's right, he wanted a son. The king prayed every morning and every evening that a son would be born to him and his wife, the queen, for what good would his kingdom be if he did not have an heir who would become the next king? Oh, how he prayed and wished for the son. And one day it happened. The queen gave birth to a child, and it was a boy. The good news spread quickly through the kingdom, and the people were happy and thankful. Now there would be a prince who would someday be the next king. The years passed, and the little boy grew to be a very little prince. And once a week, the prince and his father, the king, and his mother, the queen, would step into the royal carriage, and the royal coachman and the royal horses would carry them through the streets. Because the king had only one son, and because he loved him with all his heart, he was especially careful to make sure that no harm would befall his son. In fact, he built a very tall stone wall around the castle so that the prince would see nothing of the ugly, evil things that happened in the world beyond it. But the prince was very curious, just as little boys and girls about your age, and one day he decided that he wanted to see what the world was like beyond the stone wall. And carefully disguising himself, he slipped away from the castle. He walked down dusty roads and through village streets. He saw the clear blue skies, enjoyed the beautiful flowers, and felt the gentle rain just as he did behind the stone wall. But he also saw people stealing and cheating one another, and mothers too poor to feed their babies. Of course, the king was frantic when he discovered that his dearly beloved son was lost in the great world beyond the castle walls. So the king gathered together all his messengers and told them to go to every street corner and alleyway and read to the people this solemn declaration: "My son, the prince, is lost somewhere among you. Will you help me find him?" Young and old, male and female, the people looked high and low to find the prince, because they knew the king would be forever grateful if they found his son. But no one could find the prince, because he had disguised himself to look just like everyone else. And because the prince could be anyone, the people decided it was best to treat everyone as if he were the prince. Even to this day, the prince still walks the streets, and you may by chance meet him someday. I wonder if the prince is still wandering around in disguise and maybe we wouldn't recognize him. Wow, that's quite a thought. Well, this reminds me of a story in Matthew 25 that Jesus tells. And he makes it very clear that we must do as he has commanded and care for the needy and those less fortunate. And he says if we do that, then we will be plugged into God and the light of God will shine through us. But if we don't do that and we are not plugged into God, then we will be as the goat. And when it comes time to separate the goats and the sheep will go with Jesus to see God. So it's very important that we remember to feed the hungry and give water to the thirsty and love and care and homes to those who are alone and sad and empty. Then the light of God will be shining through us. So who knows? Jesus might be in disguise as one of those less fortunate, those in need. So we want him to recognize God shining through us by the way that we take care of all those who are in need. So go out and serve the Lord. Let the light of God shine through you and help those who are in need so that Jesus will recognize the light of God shining in you. Thank you for joining me again today. Amen.